beer, water. No, they don't charge for water. Pay for something at the bar, and you pay back to the KGB, the Fantastic Fiction series. Our second reader is Brian Keene. Brian is the author of over 30 novels, most recently Entombed and An Occurrence in Crazy Bear Valley. He also writes comic books for DC and Marvel and continues to work on his ongoing comic book series, The Last Zombie. Several of his novels and stories have been developed for film, including Ghoul, Dark Hollow, The Ties That Bind, and Fast Zombies Suck. Here's Brian.
Before we start, I've got a question. Okay, how many of you are local? Like within the city, okay. Anybody here come from Connecticut? Let me hear it. Connecticut? Yeah, a couple. How about Pennsylvania? New Jersey? Maryland?
Yay.
Maryland, okay. You came the furthest, but I know you, so that would be cheating. So,
You came the farthest.
Yeah, I came from Montana.
Montana? All right.
Yeah.
After this, you get the manuscript. All right.
I think New York meant China.
Before I start, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out on a Wednesday night in this sleepy little town where there's never anything going on a Wednesday night. I really appreciate that. You know, braving Captain Trips and everything else that's going around. I want to, of course, thank Nick, thank the Fantastic Fiction series. I won't lie to you, I've been wanting to get in here for over a decade. I've attended many of these, and I've asked Jack Ketchum, Tom Monteleone, and Paul Wilson, Linda Addison, and other friends that have read here. Hey, how do I get a reading slot there? And nobody would ever fucking tell me.
It's money.
Well, this year I found out, and no, I can't tell you either. I'm going to read something brand new, written these last 2 weeks, specifically for this event. It is not crowd tested, so I hope it goes okay. This is called Fetish. After you were gone, I cleaned the house. Maybe it was desperation on my part. Desperation to do something, anything, other than just sitting there feeling sorry for myself and drinking whiskey and crying until my eyes burned and I couldn't breathe. Maybe it was desperation to stifle the thoughts inside my head, to focus on something else for a while, other than the absence of you. Maybe it was a desperate need to escape your gravity, the pull of which I could still feel, like a black hole in our bed and on the couch and at that little kitchen nook where you used to sit and drink your tea. Maybe it was desperation in the form of a ritual, an exorcism of sorts. You were gone from my life, gone from our home, but your stuff was still here, taking the form of 1,000 different ghosts, all haunting the place. Everywhere I looked, in every room of this 3-story farmhouse we'd once shared together, I saw reminders of you. Maybe I was just desperate to rid myself of those memories. So I cleaned. No, that's not right. I didn't just clean. Anyone can clean. I deep cleaned. I took an entire weekend and engaged in some heavy-duty spring cleaning, even though it was the middle of winter. On Friday night, I boxed up your books and your movies. I emptied the closet of the clothes and shoes you'd left behind. How a woman could own so many pair of shoes is beyond me, and I swear I never saw you wear half of those in the 3 years we were together. The refrigerator and cupboards were full of things you liked, butternut squash soup and organic bean sprouts and other stuff I'd never eat. I swept tubes of makeup, nail polish, lipstick, and hair care products from the top of the dresser, packed up your jewelry box too. In the bathroom, I boxed up your hair dryer, curling iron, body lotions, bubble bath, scented votive candles, toothbrush, hair clips, and all the tampons and other feminine care products you'd left behind. I got rid of your ceramic tea kettle and that little sushi set you bought on our first vacation together, and the unicorn statue I bought you for our first Valentine's Day. Our walls were full of empty nails after I took down all the pictures of you. In the attic, I found a box of cards and letters you'd given me over the last 3 years. They had to go too. It wasn't enough that they were hidden from sight. Just knowing they were here in the house was too painful to contemplate. On Saturday morning, after grabbing a few hours of sleep, I rented a moving van and a storage unit and moved all of your stuff into that, because I wasn't sure what you'd want done with it. I couldn't bring myself to throw it out, but I couldn't live amongst it either. I was tired of hurting, tired of the constant pain. Pain that was supposed to have stopped with your departure, but still lingered, festering like a wound that just won't heal. Every time I saw your stuff, it was like picking the scab off again. Moving your stuff into storage took most of the day. When I got home Saturday evening, after returning the truck and getting my deposit back, I walked into the house and I could still smell you, your body lotion, perfume, and shampoo. So I cleaned some more until the house smelled like lemon furniture polish and lilac toilet bowl, like I said, first draft, toilet bowl disinfectant. I vacuumed the carpets and swept the wooden floors, and in doing so, I found 1,000 little more reminders of you. Your hair. The first time we met, I saw your hair before I saw you. My previous girlfriend had short hair, but not you. There you were, sitting on a stool by the pool table at the bar, with your back turned to me. You and your friends laughed. Your laughter caught my attention, but it was your hair that kept it. Black as raven's feathers, thick and luxurious, and reaching all the way to the small of your back. It was the kind of hair men, and perhaps women as well, longed to feel between their fingers and brushing across their bare skin. And I did. Oh, God, I did. I'll never forget how your hair felt that first time we made love, and every time we made love after that. Even later, when our relationship started to sour, we lost our emotional connection and grew distant from each other, and our lovemaking gave way to just having sex more often than not. I was still enthralled by your hair. I loved how it fell on my chest, and running my hands through it, and giving it those playful pulls, and especially how it smelled. That smell was probably the most powerful ghost of all. That night, as I was vacuuming the bedroom carpet, the aromas of lemon furniture polish and lilac cleaner were soon overpowered by something else, the stench of burned rubber. The little belt inside the vacuum cleaner had burned out. Sighing, I unplugged the vacuum from the wall and flipped it over. Sure enough, strands of your hair had gotten wrapped around the rollers, choking them until they wouldn't turn anymore. I grabbed a pair of scissors and started cutting, remembering something your dad had once told me, that I wouldn't have believed how many vacuum cleaners he'd gone through when you were growing up. But I did believe it. This was my third in 3 years of being with you. Small price to pay for being able to enjoy your hair. You were gone now, but your hair remained. I cut the tangle free from the rollers, stuck it in my pocket, intent on throwing it away when I went back downstairs. Then I plugged the vacuum back into the outlet, crossed my fingers, hoping it would still work. It did, though the burning smell soon returned as your hair clogged the rollers up again. I spent more time cutting that clump free and added it to the tangle in my pocket. When I tried to vacuum a third time, the belt was shot. The motor got hot and there was no suction power left. I went downstairs, grabbed the broom and dustpan, and began to sweep the kitchen floor. There, among the fallen cereal flakes and breadcrumbs, stray fingernail clippings, lint, dust bunnies, dead stink bugs, and twist ties, was more of your hair. Is that your kitchen? After sweeping the pile into the dustpan, I paused, hovering over the garbage can. Then, without really thinking about it, I rescued your hairs from the dirt and emptied the dustpan into the garbage. Then I added those hairs to the clump from my pocket. As I'm sure you'd remember, on the mantel in the living room is a beer stein from Germany, from World War II, an heirloom passed down to me by my grandfather. After a moment's consideration, I decided that the stein seemed an appropriate place to keep your hair. I've had that mug since I was a kid, and it holds many treasures from both childhood and my adult life. A seashell from my first trip to the beach, an arcade token, a baseball card, an empty brass bullet casing, ticket stubs from concerts long past, my grandmother's St. Christopher medal, fur clippings from my dog, passed on 6 years now, each one with a special meaning and a memory attached. I rolled your hair between my fingers for a moment, and then reluctantly dropped it inside the stein. Then I took a shower and went to bed. It was the first time I'd lain in our bed since you'd gone, and I couldn't sleep. It felt empty without you there. The sheets still held your impression on your side of the bed, and when I put my face to your pillow and nuzzled it, I smelled you. I smelled your hair. I blinked away tears, and there they were, 3 long black hairs on the white pillowcase. I shuffled downstairs and added them to the rest. Then I went to sleep on the couch, television playing in the background. I don't know what channel it was on, because I didn't watch it. I just needed the background noise. I needed something to trick me into believing that I wasn't alone. Life went on like that for a while. Although I don't know that you could actually call it a life. In truth, I was just going through the motions. Moving on because that's what you're supposed to do after something like this. Move on, get over it. So I tried. I went to work every day, came home, watched TV, slept on the couch, then I got up the next morning and did it all over again. I didn't date. I didn't want to. I'd never had that much of a social life even before I met you, and as for the few friends I'd had over the years, I'd lost touch with them after you and I started dating. I spent my time with you rather than them. They drifted away. Or maybe it was me who had drifted. I don't know. But I do know that I didn't really miss them. I only missed you. Sometimes at night, when the loneliness and oppression became too much, I'd get your hair out and hold it. It still smelled like you, even as months went by. I'd stroke it and fondle it and put it against my cheek. Some nights I whispered to it and told it that I loved you. Every week I cleaned, and every time I found more hair. It didn't matter how many times I swept the floor or shampooed or vacuumed the carpets, there was always a little bit of you still left behind. Each time I found a strand, my emotions were conflicted. Pangs of heartache and regret, followed by a bittersweet happiness that at least a part of you still remained. And so I added to my collection, my shrine to the memory of you. The hair went from the size of a golf ball to a softball. Within a few months, my grandfather's old beer stein wasn't big enough to hold it all, so I had to find another place to keep it. That was when I finally started sleeping in our bed again, with the ball of your hair tucked beneath my pillow. By then, it was bigger than a football. After that, the house didn't seem so haunted or empty anymore, and I didn't feel so alone. I began to hold your hair to my chest at night, tucking it in the crook of my arms as one might do with a stuffed animal or a pillow. I'd fall asleep breathing you in. Occasionally, when the need grew too strong, I'd turn the lights off and lay there in the darkness, caressing myself with the remnants of you, stroking my chest and face and legs with your softness before stroking other, more urgent parts of myself as well. I was always careful to pull your hair away before I came. The last thing I wanted to do was taint all that remained of you. I needed to keep your essence as pure as possible. Yeah, there's just no way to deliver that line. Ellen's thinking, why did we invite him? Then I started to worry that sleeping with your hair under my pillow might be detrimental to ensuring that overall quality. Your scent was beginning to fade, and the hair itself had lost some of its luster. So I reshaped it into a ball again and laid it on your pillow. In the dark, I could almost imagine that it was your head lying there, which led me to search for more of you. I vacuumed and swept daily, desperate to retain every strand. When that didn't produce enough, I checked the shower drain. I'd cleaned the tub since your departure, of course, but only the surface. No, to find you, I pulled up the grate and checked down inside the drain itself. Sure enough, there you were, mixed in with bits of myself. This hair retained none of your texture or smell. It was cold and wet and slimy with residue soap scum, but I put some tissue paper on the sink and spread the hair out on it to dry. When it had, I was able to separate us both from the filth, and then separate you from myself. It was easy enough to do. Yes, thank you. My hairs were short and coarse. Yours were long and beautiful. I added those hairs to the ones in the bed, and that night, with the lights off and a sliver of moonlight shining in through the window, I could almost believe that you were there. It looked quite like the profile of your head, neck, and shoulders. I slipped an arm around you and snuggled close. Your hair tickled my nose. I breathed you in and gave you a goodnight kiss and told you how much I loved you and that I missed you. I told you then that I'd been wrong, that I'd made a mistake, that it hadn't been you, it was me. I begged you to come back, but I knew you wouldn't. Your hair grew wet with my tears. It still wasn't enough. I needed more of you. All of you. Sadly, there doesn't seem to be any more of you left. Every remaining trace of you is either packed up in that storage unit or laying there in our bed. I think about that lovely head of hair. I bet it's still growing longer than ever before. They say that happens, you know, that the hair and the fingernails keep growing. Tonight, I'll take a drive out to the woods, hike into that place where I buried you, and I'll find out. And then, I promise, I'll bring you back home.